Hello. Today I'm going to go through a clay recruitment table. So what is this? Built this for a client a little while ago. It's basically a really straightforward, just recruitment table that finds a bunch of eligible companies, a bunch of jobs that have been posted, and triggers an outreach sort of sequence that goes out to them as soon as a job goes online. Now, decided to speak about this one because I've spent a lot of time on, I guess, this kind of flow before and tried to make it as complicated as possible, and really just found that the best results that we got were out of the box clay features and just keeping it as simple as possible. And I think it's something that can be used everywhere. So if you've got a recruitment client or your recruitment company yourself, using something like this is a really easy way to get in front of prospects very quickly at the moment they need you. So just to give you an overview, where are we at the moment? I've split this into a couple of different geographies, but if we look down here, I've got this company table. This is basically for the Canadian market. And we've basically started out with everyone in their target market, everyone in their ICP. So again, we really focused on clay out of the box features for this. So didn't use Apollo, didn't use any other B2B databases, just used the company finder that doesn't cost any credits. If I open this up here, what have we got? So we've basically looked for everyone across this huge swathe of industries, really anything sort of technical or marketing related, and anyone from a size of 11 to 200 employees as reported on LinkedIn. So again, this isn't 100% accurate. This is just sort of the self-reported band number. It's not the number of people that are on the LinkedIn, even though I think you can do that now. But we really just wanted to get as wide a net as possible of whoever could be relevant to who this client sells to. So we found about 25,000 people here, and haven't done this yet, but this is a new feature that came up from Clay pretty recently, but we can actually, on a schedule, instead of manually update the companies in this table. So say, for example, I was to change this to once a week or once a month. In this instance, I probably would use monthly, just because, you're not going to get that many new companies pop up that often. I think once a month is absolutely fine. And we'll be able to pop up, any new companies that we can use for our outreach as well. A little hack for this, if you want to just sort of run this manually, which is what I sometimes prefer to do, I'll run it manually once a month. I'll basically turn off the auto update columns here. So that means if you're adding new columns in, turn this off, it means you can actually review the companies as they come up, and it won't trigger all of these columns that otherwise would be automatically done at a later date. So I'm going to leave this on. I'll leave this auto update, but that's how we get the company list ready to go. And I've not used any credits for that. It's just out of the box. And these columns here, the domain, the name, the primary industry, is just what comes as standard from those enrichments. So we've actually deduplicated the LinkedIn URL. So we can see here auto dedupe is on. So as a new company comes in, if, for example, a new company comes in and it's got the same LinkedIn, we'll get rid of the newest one. And this is just a great way of saying, cool, we only want to see individual companies on this list. So we're not running the same enrichments twice when we only need to run it once. So this is all good here. We've got our list of companies. I'm just going to go through these. I think we've only used three very basic, actually four very basic enrichments here. So the first thing I've done, if we go back to our default view, I've basically gone through these 25,000 companies and I've used the out of the box LinkedIn sort of job post finder. So I've used a bunch of different variations of this. I've used the other Clay versions, or the other Clay job enrichments. I've used some sort of rapid API or sort of external APIs to be able to find other, from different job boards. Had mixed results with them, but obviously there's a lot of jobs that aren't posted on LinkedIn. But in terms of sort of getting really cheap and easy results, just using this find active job openings that comes out of the box is really just the best bang for your buck. And you can see here, we're just looking at a company identifier or domain. We're looking at everyone from Canada, and we're looking at everyone in the last 30 days. And it just sort of brings up approximately, 1 or 2,000 of these 25,000 will have an active job that's been posted in the last 30 days, and we can bring those back. We can sort of see here, we've got 7 jobs, various different areas or areas of expertise. And if we want to actually get a little bit more granular about it, we can use certain keywords, exclude certain keywords. So something I would normally do is I'd get rid of sort of junior, I'd get rid of, say for example, like entry, that kind of stuff there as well. And we can sort of get down to, really granular stuff like, do they have a recruiter, or are there sort of locations within Canada that we want to exclude as well. Another great reason to use this is that it is very cheap. Unlike a lot of other enrichments, you are only charged for the cells that return results. So the great thing about that is I can run this once a week or once a month, and there's 25,000 rows here. I'm not going to be getting charged 25,000 credits. I will only be charged for the rows that bring back results. So if I bring, there's 1,000 rows that come out of that 25,000, I'm only going to get charged 1,000 credits, which is far more affordable than some of the other job enrichments. Like say, for example, sort of find open jobs. I believe these ones here will actually charge you by the attempt, not the response. So for something, if you want to run this very often, this makes the most sense. Now, what am I going to do here? So I don't want to run all of these columns here for the people who haven't found a job. In fact, it won't work. It's run condition not meant. But just to clean this up, I'm going to use one of Clay's features for the view. So if I go up here, we've actually got no filters on this table. If I was to put filters on here and save it as a new view called has jobs, and we can see here we've got, if they've got some values in our outputs that we want to have, this basically only returns those 910 rows that have an active job out of the last LinkedIn jobs run. So what have we got here? The next job we want to do is we want to find, pull out the details of those jobs. We want to find out what's the most relevant. We want to find out sort of the description and the roles that we need to do. And we want to use AI to transform that into something that is readable, something that could be put into a message, or something that we can put in an email and it won't look like a computer wrote it for us. So first things first, I'm using Claygent, which is, for those of you who don't know, Clay's AI sort of researcher or sort of web scraper. And I've just basically decided to, give it the, I guess the JSON or the string of all of the jobs that it pulled out for this particular company. As you can see here, this is just the markdown that we've pulled into that JSON string. And I'm going to say, look at that, and I want you to determine which is the most senior role that has come out of it. And again, this is something we never used to have in the earlier days of Clay. But what we can do now is we can actually determine multiple fields and have multiple different, I guess, mini prompts within this larger sort of Claygent prompt, and get it to return multiple results. So for this one here, I've got company match. This is one I don't use anymore. But I've got here job title and job responsibilities. The job title here is I'm going to be returning just the most senior job title. And for the responsibilities, I'm going to be getting an AI summary of what, I guess, that job is going to be doing. Most of these jobs are going to have 1,000 or 2,000 characters, which isn't particularly useful if we're using it for sort of other automations or other enrichments down the line. I want to open this up and I want to see, sort of Kimbo Design. Their most senior role available is a senior full stack WordPress web developer, which is fine. And I want to take what they've said, and I've got about 100 words here that tells me they deliver custom high-end websites, legacy websites, UXI, UI best practices, all that kind of stuff as well. So we're ready. We've got the most senior job at this company that has been posted in the last couple of weeks, and we're ready to go ahead and start pulling that details and make it ready for either an email or a LinkedIn message. Next thing we want to do is open this, I guess, AI prompt here. And we're doing something a little bit different in terms, instead of doing a web scrape and actually doing some research, we're basically using this just for, I guess, text transformation. We're basically putting an input in, and we're telling it to look at this this input here, which is a sort of job title, which has brackets in there, which may have sort of like different punctuation, stuff that if it was in an email or a LinkedIn message would be a dead giveaway for how for being written by sort of a computer or written by AI. And we're taking that out and basically saying, look, I want it to look like it's written. So you can see here, bilingual French brackets SMB. We're basically returning SMB account director, which is absolutely fine. A little bit more complicated here is the job responsibilities section. So you'll see here, we've basically decided, look, we're going to take the summary of the job that has been taken, and we're going to return the information in there in a format that fits a sort of a sentence or a template of a sentence. So you can see here in the job description, it looked like they'd be responsible for things like blah, 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 speaking with customers. And if you go down here, we've made it different for each individual job. So you can see here, this AI research scientist is going to be responsible for driving AI research and collaborating with diverse teams. And this one here is going to be social media coordinator, is going to be responsible for enhancing clients' online visibility. Nice and relevant, nice and simple, and doesn't look obviously like it was written by AI or written by a machine. You'll see here there's a couple of different ways that we want to do this. So you'll see here for this very simple thing here, we're not basically asking AI to do anything too complicated. So if we go up here, we can change the model to something a little bit lighter. And you can see the power of the model based on the credits that Claire will charge you for using it. If you're using GPT 4.5, which is really good at sort of writing long sentences or writing natural language, it'll be 10 credits. But for these very simple ones, we can use 4.0 mini, which we pretty much use for everything that's really simple, every sort of mass enrichment we have to do. Or we've got these new ones here, which is 4.1 mini or 4.1 nano, which use a lot less computing power. I'm not too worried about these numbers here because we use the OpenAI API. We put our own API key in here, which makes it a hell of a lot cheaper. But we still get billed for that, just at a different rate. So we want to use the right model for the right task. This one here is a bit longer. So depending on the cost, we may use 4.0 instead of 4.0 mini. But again, we want to just sort of see the cost and see what makes sense. And see which model makes sense against which enrichment. If we want to get away with the cheaper model, the best thing to do is to use the feature to train the AI. So if I go down here, we can actually look down here and see, okay, cool. In this instance, row 18, we've got whatever it is, head of advertising sales, we picked it out. The first time I ran this, it probably came up with something a little bit different. Maybe it said something a bit weird. So I basically put into the AI, what do I want it to return? That means every time it's going through this, it will refer to this sort of training or these examples we've given. So it's more likely to give a right answer on a cheaper model rather than have to make that inference itself, which is probably going to be more expensive if you're using a more powerful AI model than you otherwise would need to. So you can basically sort of try around and mess around with this, but essentially you just want to experiment and see what works. And once you do find something that works, a great thing to do is just save these as templates and you can use them over and over again. So you're not reinventing the wheel every time that you want to sort of do the same enrichment. So this is pretty much all we need in terms of the company stuff. We've got everything we need here. What I want to do is basically take every company that is in this table, and what I can do is, and I use the Clay out of the box feature to do this, you don't need to go to any other platform, is basically do a people search from this company table. And if I open this up here, I'm basically taking everybody who works at those companies or everyone who works at those companies that have an active job opening, and I want to push them here. So we're basically looking for everyone at these companies that have pushed in. We want everyone in an owner, a C-suite or a VP position, and we're excluding those who are sort of CFOs in finance or in product or something like that. And exactly the same as we did in the company table, we could do this on a schedule, but for this one, simply because of the nature of the table where it's based on jobs that are sort of very, very temporary, very ephemeral, we just want to have that run it once, find the relevant people as they come in, straight after the job is posted. So this is all good. And we can see here, we can still access all of the old company data from the previous table. So we can basically pull in here the job responsibility analysis. We've pulled in the cleaned job title and we're ready to push ahead with just our standard enrichments. Again, we've basically tried to find the email here. There's a few other ways we could have done this. We actually run a database of all of the, like a huge number of emails that we get, we've used in previous campaigns, so we don't have to buy them twice. Or alternatively, if you wanted to fill out these blanks here with no email found, we would use a email waterfall, which would basically use other email providers like, Find Email, Prospio, all those kind of ones as well. But for our purposes here, we've basically found out that, 90% of all of the leads we've got here can be found in Lead Magic, which is very, very cheap. It's about a cent. Well, it's not about, it is a cent per record returned. And it includes the verification in here as well. So it does verification. If we open this up, we can see this is valid too. And we can see we've got a bunch of emails ready to go. We've also decided to normalize the company name. Reason for this, the vast majority of these are the same, but just sometimes it sneaks through. Where, say, for example, it could be Thinking Box Limited, or it could be Altrio Pty, or whatever that would be. We don't want to put that in the email because it's a dead giveaway that, we've just automated it as well. It takes the person right out of it. So we just want to make it look like it was written by a person rather than an AI. And that's pretty much it. The next step is we're pushing this into Smart Lead, but if you're using Instantly, or if you're doing LinkedIn with like Hey Reach or something like that, you're able to push those through as well. But essentially all we're pushing through is these building blocks. We're pushing through the normalized company name, we're pushing through the email, we're pushing through these job summaries, the responsibility summary and the clean job title, and just constructing a very simple email, which is basically, like, I see last week you posted a job for XYZ, a senior developer. Sounds like they're going to be responsible for doing, I don't know, Ruby on Rails or whatever it is. We've got a great candidate who fits that things. Let me know and I'll give you a call. And even though it's not very sort of complicated, there's tons more ways you can make this sort of like super complicated and super technical. For these kind of recruitment campaigns, the most important thing is that you are cutting down the time between a job being posted and reaching out to the person. Because recruitment is one of those offerings where it's not differentiated at all. It's basically, no one thinks about recruitment unless they need to hire someone. So if we can get in front of those people very, very quickly, and we're moving away from sort of a spray and pray mentality, we're going to be getting very, very good results. So this is a straightforward table. It still works. Still get, we run about 6,000 prospects off of this campaign every month, and we get, sort of a few responses a day off of it across a few different geographies. So absolutely worth the effort. Sort of nothing wrong with it. If you do run a recruitment campaign, or you are a recruiter yourself, feel free to have a look at this and amend it or change it for your I guess your use case or your needs. Otherwise, feel free to give us a call. Happy to walk you through this and sort of see how you could implement a table like this yourself. So any questions, let us know, but that's pretty much good to go. We'll push this online shortly. Thank you very much.